Hi everybody, welcome to a special episode of Playing for Sushi, live football in Japan. Today I have a very special guest, former X League player, former MVP, former Fujitsu Frontier running back, Gino Gordon. A dear friend of mine, longtime competitor. Yeah, man, thanks for coming out. You know, appreciate you spending some time with me. I know you're busy with life, being the businessman, being daddy. Yeah, I know how that goes. So,
no, exactly.
But no, man, you know, so usually this is a special episode, but we'll get to the meat of what we want to talk about. But yeah, like just to talk about your career, right? You started at Harvard. I kind of ran your history. And I've known a lot about your playing career and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, Harvard, right?
Yep.
Yeah, Ivy League.
Yep.
That's why you're so smart. That's why I can't have normal conversations with you. I went to just, you know, normal college.
Oh, stop.
Ivy League, you know.
As long as we talk about football.
Yeah. But, I can talk about football all day, but if we go into like all that business stuff that you was probably studying, I would struggle.
I don't know about all that,
but no, you finished. I read you finished fourth all time. Right? Finished fourth all time. You were co-player of the year for the league, and then you were also named Harvard Male Athlete of the Year.
Yep.
Yeah, and then you took a 2-year break.
Yeah. I took a 2-year break. I think, as with everybody here, everybody wants to play in the NFL. So I took some time. That whole year, basically, because that was actually the lockout year. It's 2011.
That's right. Yeah.
So they didn't have those type of mini camps that for people like me. Like, I had a good career, but I was going to be undrafted. I needed that opportunity, which I didn't get. So I just tried my best to, keep training, get bigger, faster, stronger, and then try out, CFL camps and stuff like that. It didn't end up working out. But then on the second year, I ended up going. I wanted to keep training in Boston with my coach. And then also work as well. So what I ended up doing was I helped start a 5th grade school.
5th grade?
I started just 5th grade. It was a charter school, and basically what we did was we wanted to start a sports school. And not like IMG Academy. This one was basically pure science oriented, and we're just basically what we did was start a school where everybody was able to work out 30 minutes at a time throughout the day, just to keep everybody going. So yeah. Spent a lot of time, training and figuring out how the body works, and those 2 years were actually pinnacle for me to get back to play for the X League rather.
And then how did that connection, getting connected to Fujitsu, how did that all happen?
The funny thing about it was actually Frank.
Okay.
Frank Fernandez, the OL from 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐃.
So my former teammate.
Yeah, exactly. So the funny thing is, I was actually talking to him about what's the possibilities of going to 𝐒𝐿𝐵𝐃.
Yeah.
And he said, it just there weren't any spots available. So what we ended up doing was he connected me to Brad Brennan, who was the wide receiver.
That's right, Brad,
yeah. And they were thinking about bringing in a few guys. And I came in the same year as Adi, and Drew.
Yeah.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him he's coaching at Lafayette now.
Yeah. Yeah, he played, he had a short career here, but he's doing well for himself now. And you guys came in and you guys kind of ushered in, because my first year, from everything I gathered, was Fujitsu was very, at some point they were kind of like taking that pride, right? That we're going to win without Americans. And they took that step in bringing you guys in. And luckily for me, that first year, I was able to get one more championship. But, after that, you guys, Adi, Kobe, you guys, in my eyes, shifted the entire league and shifted Fujitsu, who was kind of the, how would you say that? They were kind of always the runner-up from what I understood.
Oh yeah.
Right? They were always kind of like, we can get there, we can get to the championship, but they could never win it, or they would fall short in the semis. And, you guys broke that mold, right? You guys got your first championship. And what was that like, kind of, creating what's now, for Fujitsu, almost just common now to go to the championship game, right? This is what, 10 in a row?
Yeah, they've been to the championship.
10 in a row.
Yep. Yeah, I would say the funny thing about it is like this was a team that didn't win in the 30 plus years it was there. So there was that, oh, we want to win the championship. But what I found was really, when we won that year, the teams that we beat that year and the year prior was, one was the, okay, they were the Deers. So they were, gosh, who was the Deers at that time?
They were, I think they were still Kajima.
Yeah, so they were Kajima. So when we beat Kajima Deers in Todoroki my first year, that was the first time they had beat them in such a long time, and that was a huge deal. And then when we beat you guys our second year
in
Yokohama, people were crying.
Yeah.
On our side.
Yeah.
Because it was like a light, like, or a weight that's just lifted off their shoulders.
Yeah.
It's because they've always, quite frankly, they were.
But yeah, because we were going. I mean, on a four-peat.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
We were on we were coming off of a four-peat and possibly going for 5. And I mean, yeah, I remember that game because it was just like, dang, they got us. I remember just, and I mean, for my former team, that was a pivotal moment for us too. You know, I think I kind of go back and I think that was a big moment for us and a big, just a check to ourselves and our hearts and just our heads. And I think for a while that loss took a lot out of us as a team. But yeah, I mean, you went on and you know we gotta talk about this. You already know it.
Oh, no,
so just as, you know, a lot of people probably don't know, right? But unfortunately, one game we played, I made a tackle on you. And we had a nasty injury, but to me it's funny because I'm glad you're healthy. But to me, what's always funny about that play. So for fans and stuff, we were playing. It was the semifinal game. Gino made a run. He cut to the right. I tackled him coming from his right and he twisted his leg up and pretty much his bone was sticking out of his leg. And
compound fracture,
yeah. And I just remember you screaming and I go, what? And I see your leg and, you know, kind of just in my eyes, I just realized that the more you kick and the more you move, the more it's going to damage. And I remember just pinning you on the ground, telling you, stop moving. Your O-linemen take off to the sideline. They understood what was going on. The ref thought I was doing something to you. And I remember just having like my face mask grabbed and like, get off of him. And I remember like, I'm trying to help him. You know, and, but yeah, you know, and like a lot of people probably don't know, like you would see that, go through that, and people probably wouldn't realize we're as close as we are.
Yeah.
Bitter rivals. And it's kind of become a joke, right, between us, you know, because the following year, you pretty much came back like Wolverine and you won the MVP.
Yeah. So, I didn't win MVP that year. That was
the following year, right?
I didn't win that. I won it the year before. But we ended up winning the championship.
You were the weren't you like the JXP or the Rice Bowl MVP, right?
I think I got both of those the second
season
year.
before?
Yeah, season before. But that time, that was the championship year. I was the only thing I was particularly concerned about. I'm going to be honest with you.
You sailed out into the sunset. I remember that. You sailed out into the sunset after that, and you were just like, hey, thanks, BJ, for giving me my superpowers. But no.
But yeah, man, that was a pivotal moment. And it kind of, because I thought I was going to play football forever, first and foremost.
How we all think.
Yeah, no, exactly. But during that time when I was in the hospital, you know, surgery, I had multiple surgeries. I thought to myself, like, hey, I'm about to get married. I need to start figuring out what can I do for the future. Like, and I had to start preparing, or at least getting the ducks in a row to say, hey, when this is over, I need to be able to find my next step. Yeah. And it's actually something I talk to with a lot of people about, a lot of players out here now. Like, hey, like, this isn't going to last forever. Yeah. You can't be BJ playing 10 years. Not everybody can play BJ or be like 𝐒𝐏𝐀𝐘𝐍. So, you know, I had 5 years and I was able to make the most out of it. But like, that's the thing I thought about a lot. And actually, I'm very passionate about helping, you know, people understand, or these players understand, these young guys understand, hey, there needs to be a plan, at least for the next step of year.
Because I mean, you know, and Yeah, right. Because there's so many opportunities, right? Like within football, outside of football as well, right? And yeah, I mean, after you hung it up, right, you joined Red Phoenix Entertainment, right?
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, like post-retirement life, what was that kind of like for you? I guess adjusting, because I mean, I went through it, and like, you know, kind of what was that like for you, kind of stepping away from the game?
Yeah. So before that, I joined a consulting firm for about 2 years, and I was able to kind of build the business skills that I was looking for, business strategy, marketing strategy, basically helping people or helping companies enter the market. Well, then when I linked up with Red Phoenix, a lot of what they did was help international athletes and international teams, mainly American, whether it be the Washington Wizards or the Anaheim Angels or Whitney Merciless. We're bringing Reb Hamilton next month. Stuff like that, helping them enter Japan and build their brand, find ways to expand their businesses. And it's been a great experience, mainly because I'm able to utilize the knowledge that I learned from playing at Fujitsu or playing in the X League, because it was a people-to-people action, understanding Japan, learning Japanese, being able to really take those learnings and then basically educate all of my clients and say, hey, if you want to be able to do things in Japan, these are the things you have to understand. And that's been a great experience for me personally.
Yeah, and I mean, you've also been an impact still within the X League, right? You brought 3 players, right? You brought 3 players, 2 for the Mitsubishi Lions, right? Paul and John, and Panasonic Impulse, right? Jabori, who won the MVP last year. So kind of what was that like, bringing those guys in? And I guess for them, I mean, they're lucky, right? Because you played for 5 years, but you've been here constantly. You've had eyes on the game and stuff like that. Kind of how have they taken, or how have you taken them under your wing and kind of helped guide them through, right, all the challenges that, they're probably gonna face and things like that?
Well, ultimately, what my motivation was to bring in good guys who had the potential to A, raise the level of football here, and then B, just be good guys who can contribute to society and be able to be good people and stuff like that. So I found these 3 guys. I think all of them are top class in that. And a lot of things that they go through are the stuff that we went through. And a lot of times we didn't necessarily have a sounding board to really just, hey, I have this issue, what do I do, right?
Well, you didn't. I was very lucky. I had the guy, right?
That's fair. Okay.
So I mean, like that's where like I was kind of like, oh, like I got very lucky, because I mean, like you, well, in a sense, right? Like with Paul and stuff like that, and John, you kind of can talk to them because you were the first group. Coming in through Fujitsu, and having to navigate all of those issues, and like I said, I had KJ, so I was kind of like, hey, like if I ever had something, I'd be like, KJ, like what do I do here? Or like I just used to watch KJ. Like I don't think he ever probably knew that. Like I used to observe how he would operate, like in meetings with the team, with things like that, and I used to watch him very closely, and I used to like in my head like take memos, like okay, he's doing this. All right, I gotta make sure I do this, because I saw like how loved he was, how respected he was, and how just involved he was with everything.
And I think with like a guy like Jabori, who's at Panasonic, which already has a pretty strong culture. And a lot of guys there to support him, like David, stuff. So like he has that with Paul and John, especially because when you're there trying to figure out something new. It's
for both sides.
Exactly. And that was the thing with Fujitsu as well, is that they were figuring out how to manage multiple American players and the back and forth. And that's a learning process. There's a lot of patience that's needed. And that's basically what I always do. With Americans, they can be, strong-headed Americans who are really competitive. They want things, things need to be done in a way where they want to be competitive sooner than later. But, quite frankly, in Japan, those type of changes take time, a lot of conversations, and stuff like that. And that's basically what I did. I was like, hey, if you want this change, you gotta build. You gotta figure out how to build and build a culture around it. And those are the conversations I have with them pretty regularly.
And, so Red Phoenix, you've been successful there doing a lot of stuff, not just with football. I mean, I've seen you with basketball, some other things. And then also too, we have the Dream Bowl next, coming up.
Yep.
And you've been kind of involved in that. How did that whole thing, I guess, come to fruition and I guess come to be where did it start and now it's a thing coming up here soon?
Yeah, well, I mean, the funny thing about the Ivy League in Japan is there's a huge, long history behind it.
Yeah.
But that as well as if you're talking about level, but there has actually been, at this point, 9 separate games or all-star games when the Ivy League has come to Japan, whether it be in Tokyo or Kyoto. They've played all-star games similar to the Dream Bowl. Even the last time, I think, was 2015, right?
Yeah.
When Princeton came to Kansai Gakuin and they played a game.
Yeah.
So I think there's multiple reasons why this game is happening, but I think the reason why the Ivy League was chosen was because there was already a tradition of having games here, so it was a kind of easy way. There's already a relationship, and then competitive levelness, right? Obviously, we're not going to be able to go to the Pac-12 or even play the Pac-12 or anything, but
I don't know. I can call prime time. I can call Coach Dion. We can see what happens.
I was gonna say.
I'm sorry, I had to throw that out there.
No, I can't wait to see what's going on there, man.
Yeah. I still feel like I'm dreaming when I see it. I'm like, can't be real. But yeah, anyway, sorry. Yeah.
But so there's a long history there, and then if you're talking about level, the Ivy League, has, I think, every year, like at Harvard, we usually get like 1 or 2 NFL guys per year.
Yeah.
So it's competitive.
Yeah.
Not the level, it's not a factory like Alabama or anything, but at the end of the day, you're able to see, it's a good measuring stick for Japan, for the NFA or the X League, who's hoping to kind of, become more competitive. And stuff
right. I mean, Harvard, probably, your former teammate is probably one of the biggest names, right? 𝐒𝐿.
Yeah, Kyle.
Yeah, Kyle used to block for you, right?
Yeah, he used to. He played tight end at that time, but now he's a 7-time Pro Bowler.
Yeah,
fullback.
Right? So, and that's kind of like, what a way, as I've gotten older and I kind of look at it now, like, going to a big school and stuff like that, it's all good, but, if you have the talent, you can make it work, right? And so here with the Dream Bowl, right? I guess what are going to be the ambitions for it? What is, I guess, for you, and I guess, in the overall scheme of things, what do we want to achieve here with this game?
I think this is the first step to a longer strategy for the X League for sure, to be more competitive and to be able to show, or at least be more competitive in Japan, but then also show that there's a path to being to the professional leagues, which is the NFL, CFL. And obviously the first step is just saying, hey, let's find another opportunity for our players in Japan to play against an American team, and again, that's the first step, and then from there we're able to showcase more the Japanese players, because I think you and I both know that there's one player in the NFL player pathways right now, Ricky, and then there's a handful of players who are in the CFL. So you're seeing that there's especially around basically after we got here, there was a big influx of basically professional level talent in NFL or in the X League, but a lot of people don't know that yet.
Yeah, and like for me, I always tell people I'm very impressed with the level of play you see from Japanese players, given the fact that they all work full-time jobs.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So could you just imagine, right? So we say, Ricky went and he did amazing at the player pathway, right?
Yep.
Imagine if he could just do football time. How good he would be not having to work full time, right? And I think though a lot of these younger players, right? Yeah, because when we first all got here, there was never I'm gonna go play overseas or I want to go play here, and obviously there wasn't opportunities that there are now. There wasn't the ELF, there really was only the NFL and the CFL. There's no, heck, the XFL is gonna start up next year. The USFL is gonna go into their second season. So now there's more opportunities for players to go play overseas and things like that and get the opportunities, I guess the reverse of what me and you had. And that's what, the talent, and I hope the Dream Bowl is something that can launch it, because all we need is the eyes, right? The eyes come and they watch the talent, and because yeah, there's a good mix, right? You're gonna have some veteran players. You're gonna have possibly some college players. Right. There's one crossover, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Hanada. The sumo coming over from sumo, and that boy is strong.
Is he?
Yeah. Like I've last couple of weeks I've kind of been at practice because luckily I'm probably gonna get to play in it and the Dream Bowl, but like I've kind of like done drills with him, and I'm like, dude. And I think maybe it's the sumo strength, but he's just naturally just boom. Like I'm like, yo. If obviously he's new to the game and stuff. So the little techniques and things like that, if he can clean those up, I think he can go far.
Yeah.
I think he can go farther than what most people believe.
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, just even kind of looking at the initial roster, right? Because what is it? After the Rice Bowl, we're gonna have like 3 days of practice, and we're gonna cut down the roster. I don't know if you've looked at the roster at all, but like, are there anybody that you're kind of excited to see compete against the Ivy League All-Star team?
Aside from you?
Oh man, come on.
I want to see if the old man still got it.
Come on now. I wouldn't play if I didn't think I still had it. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think Ricky is the guy, our Fujitsu wide receiver. He's the guy I'm looking forward to the most, just because I think he came in the year that I retired.
Yeah.
But I did see him. I've seen his film a little bit, and I just thought, wow, this guy really shows up. And
I've had to play against him the last however many years. I've watched the film, and I'm like, don't let this guy get the ball. So I mean, he can, and like now, like I've been able to, watch him at practice, and I'm kind of like, damn, he does. And I've heard from Adi, I've heard from Trayshawn, like, oh, he does that in practice, and I'm like, yeah, he does. Like just last week, like he had like a backhand, like one-handed catch, just like this, and like caught it, just got up like it was nothing, just jogged back to the huddle, and I'm like, yeah, and that's why you are the way you are, Ricky, and that's why I was hoping. Oh man, I had hoped he got picked for the player pathway, but I know that he probably inspired somebody, and that's what I told him. I was like, unfortunately, you didn't get picked. But somewhere down the road, there's gonna be a kid who saw what you did and go like, oh, I wanna try and go after that. So hopefully he inspired the younger generation. And I mean, yeah, there's college kids coming.
Yeah.
There's two D linemen coming up, and one is from Waseda.
Oh, the
Rintaro.
Yeah.
And this past year I coached at the University of Tokyo, and we played against Waseda.
Yeah.
And I read how tall he was and how big he was, and I was like, no way, this is a little exaggerated, right? And I remember kind of warm-ups, right? I like walked by him, and I was like, that is a big boy.
Yeah.
And thankfully he didn't play against us. So we still lost, unfortunately, but I'm excited to kind of like work with him and kind of see what he does. I mean, yeah.
No, I also really think that with Ricky, and then also the Dream Bowl itself, is trying to find ways to provide a measuring stick for these players. So they say, okay, well, I'm actually not that far away. Yeah. Right? And just giving people, because I think one of the things that I saw, especially when we were younger or when we first got here, was like there was no end goal for these players. They're like, well, what do I do after I play 𝐒𝐒𝐈, right? They thought that the NFL was such a far away thing, but now with more and more people competing in the CFL and NFL, or competing, at least try to get there, the Dream Bowl being another opportunity to compare themselves, that in itself, it creates more popularity. Because just look at rugby, Japanese rugby, or even the World Cup.
Blew up.
Exactly. The World Cup for soccer. Like, you just see Japan competing on those international level, and it just becomes way more popular here.
Yeah. So I mean, Japan, they took on. I mean, because I've watched the World Cup over like the last 2 or 3 times, and the way that Japan played this time was way different than former times.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, so I played soccer in high school, so I don't know like to very details and the base of things. I kind of get how they're playing and their playing style, but. This year when I watched Japan, like they were attacking, and I was like, they've never done that before.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen them have like one draws, and they're, you know, they had the opportunities to go take shots, but they would kind of like play it safe and just kind of like, hey, we'll just take this draw. But this year, those kids were going for blood, and I was like, that is how you like, you know, and it is the kind of the younger generation, right? And I'm hoping that with, you know, the Dream Bowl will kind of be, you know, after I will officially hang up my cleats after the Dream Bowl, but, you know, I'm hoping that I can be there to at least inspire and give just my, you know, I play defense, so I'm trying to give my intensity, anything I can give these young guys, and just, you know, hopefully it can spread throughout Japan. But if I can give anything, and just that a lot of these young kids, you know, like when we came in, another thing too, right? And there was always like oh, he's American. And he was Japanese. And for me, that's never something I ever saw. When I would play a game, it was, he had this color jersey on, I have this color jersey on, and that's about it, you know. So hopefully this also will help kind of break that, I guess, mindset away, because players, and I think we believe and we see how hard these guys work, so we want them to get away from that mindset, right? Is that just because you were born here in Japan doesn't mean you can go beat an American in football. You can beat him. It doesn't matter where you were born. If, you know, you've prepared and you've worked on your skill set and you've put in the preparation, anybody can beat anybody.
100%.
So that's another thing I hope. And I know we won't have many practices. I think we'll only have like 7 practices before the game. So hopefully that's something else too, that I can kind of have influence amongst the team.
Just being able to say, hey, we don't have a lot of time to prepare, but at the end of the day, you got to win your one-on-ones. Right? And it's not a matter of scheme or anything like that. Did you win your block? If you were one-on-one, did you make a move? Like those type of things. I feel like this is the perfect atmosphere to really just show, hey, let's compete and figure out what we can get done, and just really see how close we are. You know, and then it just gives people, again, another gauge to see how far along Japanese football is. But I think people need to realize, and this is a great showcase for everybody, is that it's actually not as far away as people think. You know, and there's a lot of good players who are going to do really, really well here. And on the opposite end, even on the Ivy League side, a lot of these Ivy League players who played in the Epsom Bowl, which was the 8 times, some of them are still here. Or some of them even starting businesses here. So it was this opportunity to go back and forth, or just come to Japan and say, hey, I really like being here. And then, you know, I've talked to a few people who a little older, obviously, like, you know, in their 50s or something. They're like, yeah, I played in the Epsom Ivy Bowl, and now I do businesses in Asia. So on the opposite end, there's another opportunity, bringing in talent, whether it be for jobs or stuff like that. So there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of good things that are going to come out of it. But most importantly, you're going to see a competitive game. So I just really want people to come in there and know that it's here, and you know, just take a look if they're around.
And you know, I think it goes even to like you say, right, like the bigger picture. And I was very lucky to be taught at a young age, you know, to use football as a tool, and that's what this game is, right? Because it's a tool for the Japanese players, right? This is where we're at. You know, for the Ivy League players, right? Hey, football is global. I mean, I think it's starting to be seen, right, in the States, but you know, the Ivy League can come here, and those players will probably be like, wow, like the football, you know, like how we were all, right? Like, like, wow, the football play is actually really good here, you know, and you know, right, that it'll expand, and you know, for them, the experience rate would expand, and go back to what you're talking about, right? Guys had that experience, and now they're like, man, I would love to come back to Japan, and you know, whether it's football or whether it's business or travel and things like that, and it'll all be because of a simple game with one ball. You know, now everybody's worlds get expanded. So you know, I think that's even just the deeper and bigger message, and you know, I'm gonna try my best. You know me, I'm gonna try and give. Whatever the score is, you throw me in, you're gonna get everything I got. So, you know, all the guys who I'm gonna go out there and play with, you know, across the whole league. They better be ready because, like I said, this is my last one, and I'm not going out quietly. I'm not gonna go quietly. We're gonna go, and we're gonna give, you know, the Ivy League everything we got, because I know that they're gonna bring everything that they have as well.
Yeah, because these Ivy League guys, actually, they're seniors, so they don't have any more NCAA eligibility. This will be their last game, basically. Yeah, right? Their so last game. Yeah,
and I mean, what a way, right?
Yeah,
you're gonna go to the national stadium where the Olympics were played at. You know, you're gonna play against here in Japan, right? You're gonna travel across the world to come play here and stuff. So, I mean, it's gonna be fun for both sides. I hope, you know, as crazy as this is, I think my wife, we were talking the other day, I think I have about 200 people coming just for me.
Yeah.
So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I mean, I got family that's going to fly from Hawaii. I've got my wife's like entire family's coming. I've got friends and everybody's already like bought. So, it's going to be a good time.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to see some fireworks, and like I said, I hope we can pack that stadium.
Yeah.
Because I was there when the All Blacks played the Japan rugby game. I think they had 60,000 plus fans. And I mean, like when Japan made their first try, the sound of that stadium was insane. And I hope we can get 60,000, might be pushing it, but I hope we can get close, you know, to like 40 and just pack it out, and because that might give us the home field advantage, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You know, the Ivy League might be like, whoa, the players might be like, whoa, what is this, you know? So, but it'll probably be fun for them, right? If the fans, because that's 100%. Something that they're going to be used to. But yeah, man, I mean, appreciate you giving me your time. Man, I appreciate everything that you continue to do for the game here. Appreciate, you know, our friendship, you likewise. Know, regardless that I broke your leg. You know, it's always been love, and you know, it's been awesome to be close, and you know, to watch you as a husband and as a father. You know, and just continue to have success in everything you do, man. I wish you well, and you know, I hope, you know, like we always talked about, what was that, like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, right? Yeah. At some point, you can go be the GM, I'll be the head coach. And if anybody ever wants to hire us, we're gonna run everything and
package deal. We're a package
deal. We were enemies on the field, only on game day. But you know, it's been awesome to watch your career, and you know, I'm glad you're still close to the game and helping it grow. And you know, I've partially stepped into my retirement. Got one last one, but you know, I'm gonna try and, you know, kind of continue to see the work that you've done has kind of inspired me to want to help the game here. So, but I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
No, thank you. Likewise, bro. I appreciate you. I do want to say one thing, bro. Is just, well, because I think this kind of shows the whole power of football, or it's just you and I. We've been here 10 years, or you've been over here 10 years. I'm about 10 years. We're still really, really good friends. Yeah. And even though we've moved away from playing sports, well, you're still there. I moved away from playing sports. But we're still active. We're still doing things. And I think that's, again, with the Dream Bowl, with everything that happens, especially with the X League, that is exactly what this is what it is. Yeah. You know, the impact that it caused. It changed my life, you know. So I want to say, appreciate the football, but really appreciate I got to meet you as well, brother. Like, it's been a good ride, man. So, just the beginning.
We ain't done yet. We're just getting started. We just took the pads off. They don't know yet.
Exactly. So,
but
I appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.